What's up, y'all? My name is Deidra, and this is ShadeTree Reads. I am going to be wrapping up June and July in this video. In the month of June, I participated in the FckAThon Readathon. The FckAThon is hosted by the Black Pros Club, and there is 3 women that host that one, and I will put their information in the description box as well as show you the flyer for the event. And it was from the 15th of June to the 21st of June, and there were 5 prompts and then 7 Instagram prompts that I did not do that part, but I did try to read 5 books, and I was successful at 4 during the month of June, and then I read the 5th one that I had on my TBR into July. So we'll talk about the ones that I did read and go from there. So I don't know if, I'm pretty sure I went over this in my TBR video, but they had a theme of 90s cartoons, or maybe it was just childhood cartoons. And so the first book that I completed in June was for the prompt that read, it was themed after Doug, read a coming of age story. And that was You Should See Me in a Crown. Talked about this enough. You know my feelings on it. I gave it 5 stars. And one thing I don't know if I said, and I saw a couple people not really complaining about it, but like saying, can we get something else? But this is the first time I've seen sickle cell anemia rep in a book, and I'm not sure if that's just because I haven't been reading very much YA lately or what, but that was one of the reasons why this got bumped up to a 5-star rating for me. I'm not sure if I said that in the last videos that I made where I mentioned this book, but I know I said it in my Goodreads review. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to stop talking about it, but this is the first book that I finished in June, gave it 5 stars. I love it. The next book I read in June was not for any readathon. It was just for my pleasure, and that was Nana by Ai Yazawa, and I gave that 3.5 stars. I think I was introduced to this from Ashley from Bookish Realm, like all my other comics probably, that I don't just stumble upon in the wild, but this is one of her favorite mangas. And I picked it up and I liked it okay. I just got confused a little bit, and I felt like I was still just sort of kind of coming out of a reading slump. And so I think that's more to do with why I rated it 3.5 than the quality of it. So I'm going to pick up volume 2 pretty soon. The next book I read in June was for the FckAThon, and that was an ebook of Drama High by L. Devine. I gave that one 4 stars, and that was for the prompt. Drama High was for the prompt that from FckAThon that was after the Recess cartoon, which was read a book focused on a group of friends. And there was definitely a group of friends present in this book, but it wasn't necessarily about that group of friends. It was more about one person in that group. So I don't know if we want to say that I cheated on that one, but so Jade is bused to this predominantly white school that's in one of the suburbs around Compton in California. And this book is just about how she gets on trying to live her life as one of the only Black kids in this high school, and her love life, and then just interpersonal relationships with the people in her friend group. So I really enjoyed that. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not sure if I said that already, but I really liked it. At some point, I know that I cried because I remember this is another book that Ashley, I heard about from Ashley. I don't know if this is one that she told me to read, but I definitely know that she's the one that brought it to my attention. But I told her that I cried, and I don't remember what scene made me cry, but I definitely cried, and I liked it. And this is when I started picking up steam from getting out of a reading slump. So I really enjoyed that. Gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read in June for the FckAThon was The Black God's Drum by P. Jelly Clark. It's really short. It is 107 pages, and this one is about, oh, I've read it for the prompt that is, where'd it go? Batman Forever. Read a book where the character has a secret identity or is hiding something major. Turns out I really like it when there is like a deity within somebody and they have to either learn how to get that spirit out of them or work with that spirit or work against that spirit or try to thwart them. I really like that. So that's kind of what this was. The main character's name was Creeper, which I knew that. I was looking to see if it named the goddess. Yeah, so this one was Oya, and Creeper has Oya inside of her as not like a poltergeist type of situation, just a symbiotic relationship, basically. And I don't think a lot of people in this particular story, people don't know that she has this goddess within, and she doesn't, and other people don't necessarily think of it as a good or bad thing, I don't think, but it's just not a well-known fact. There is other magic and stuff that happens in this book that the public at large is aware about, but as far as Creeper's things going on, people don't know. So that is how I use that as a secret identity to do the prompt. But I gave this one 5 stars. I really liked it. I love Clark's writing. Like, if he ever writes a full-length book, like if he gives me more than 200 pages, I think I would just pass out from joy. I did not look up, I don't know how many pages Ring Shout is, but I do know that people are starting to read it and receive arcs. So I know it's going to be released soon. I think it is going to be released this year, 2020. But this was so good. This was so good. I still need to read The Haunting of Tramcar 015. I don't know exactly the name of that book, but there's one more book that is in the same world as A Dead Gin in Cairo, which is another great short story or novella by him. It's only like 30 something pages, but that is the story that I started off with his writing, and then I've just been trying to read everything I can get my hands on by him since, and this one was definitely worth it. It was 5 stars for sure. Okay, so that was all I read in June. That was 4 books. Like I said, I was getting out of a reading slump. I don't even think I picked up a book until like the 20th or close to the 20th of June. So, you know, I think I did pretty good. That was 4 books, and a lot of people don't read 4 books in a year. So I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. I participated in the FuckAThon, which is hosted by Noria at Noria Reads, and the PopCulture Readathon, which is hosted by Whitney and Lauren. And I will put all their information in the description box, just so I don't say it wrong. But I did not get bingo. I'll just go ahead and say it. I didn't get bingo. I missed it by 1 on the 2 carts that I was planning on trying to get bingo in. And for the FuckAThon, I think I didn't get I didn't get bingo because I DNF'd a book, and that put me behind. Let me double check my TBR for FuckAThon. Okay, so I did not get bingo for FuckAThon because I just didn't get around to reading Cersei, but I did complete the other 2 books that I was going to go with, but we'll just go in the order that I read. And I apologize if you can hear any background noise. I live in an apartment. So the first book that I completed in July was The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. And I read this on ebook that I borrowed from my library. I will eventually get a physical copy of this book for myself, but I just didn't feel that comfortable with going out to the store right now. anyways, there's still a pandemic going on, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So I didn't go out to the store, and I was not ready to make my book purchase yet, or I had already done it. Anyways, long story short, I don't have a copy of it, but I will get one eventually. I gave this one 4 stars. I liked it a lot. I read it with Shamla from Miss Awesome Saucy and Heather from Too Many Books, and we read that together, and it was so much fun. We watched a movie after we finished reading it, not together necessarily, but we did watch it individually and talk about it in our Discord. And yeah, I really did a lot of the choices that were made for the movie. It didn't make sense to me. I guess maybe if I hadn't read the book, then the choices that were made for the movie might have made some sense. I thought there was a lot of just, I don't want to say nuance that was missed in the film adaptation, but I just didn't care for the movie at all. But I thought the book was very well done and very well written, and I can't wait to read The Sea of Monsters in that series with them in August. The next book I read in July was Slay by Brittany Morris. I really love this book. I loved it a lot, and I'm very sad that it took me as long as it did to go ahead and read this. I don't know. After having read it, I'm not sure why I didn't just go ahead and read it for myself. But I am sad that it took me this long, because boy, howdy did I love this. I gave it 5 stars. I'm not sure if I already said that. This is the story of the main character, Kiera, aka Emerald, who made a video game that is it's only for black people. Blacks only. And it's really just a celebration of the black experience and culture, and some of our inside jokes and things of that nature, and kind of how this game that she created that called Slay, this game that she created is really a safe space for all black people across the diaspora. And so the further and further I got into this book, the more in love I fell with it. It's not a perfect book, but I really don't have anything bad that I could come out of my mouth and say about it. The one criticism that I have heard over and over is that you have to suspend your belief in the fact that this high school senior or junior, I think high school senior at the time, or junior at the time that it was created, and a senior at the time of this book, created this really technologically advanced game that in reality, in the real world, it's really, there's no way without, I don't think she had a job. Maybe she had a job. I can't remember. Yeah, she definitely had a job, but it was a part-time job because she's still in high school. So there is no way that she would have been able to afford it in real life. And so you did have to suspend your belief that this child made this game. But once you got past that, because of the magnitude and I don't want to but once you got past that and understood why Brittany wrote it that way, it wasn't hard to just dive headfirst into the narrative here and see all the commentary or all the social commentary that was being remarked upon in this book. And I would definitely recommend it to everybody, but especially everybody black should read this. The next book I read in July was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I read an ebook of this. I gave it 3.5. It's a classic. It was one of the better classics I've ever read. And it was about this man. who is a painter, and one day he meets this guy at a party and sort of becomes enamored with him and essentially begs him to be a subject of one of his paintings. And he paints, and this person is Dorian, and he goes home and he paints Dorian, and one of his other friends, I've forgotten some of these characters' names, but anyways, one of his other friends happens by on a day when he is painting and strikes up a conversation with Dorian. And is it Basil? I think it's Basil, the painter's name. But yeah, so, and gradually over time, this third friend, whose name I can't, it's Mr. somebody, it's like Mr. Henderson or something like that. This third friend, we're gonna call him Mr. H. He swings by, and he and Dorian sort of hit it off. And when Dorian asks for a break, they step outside, and one of the things that Mr. H says to Dorian is, you'll never be as young as the way you're captured in that picture. And Dorian's mind just basically latches on to that. Out of everything that was said in that conversation out in the courtyard, Dorian's mind latches on to that one thing that he says, and he sort of becomes obsessed with the idea of youth and this painting. And he makes a bargain during that, after that conversation and before they part ways for the night, that sort of plays out for the rest of the book. And it was cool. I thought there was a lot of, I am coming to learn that I really do not like descriptive writing, like super descriptive writing. I don't need 2 or 3 pages of exposition about your emotions, about the atmosphere, about who's at the opera, who's at the ball, who's at the banquet. I don't need that much information. Just give me the highlights of who all there, and then move on to the action. And so that was my main complaint with this, because there was just page upon page upon page of how Dorian feels or Basil feels, or there wasn't that much about Mr. H. He was he was definitely a secondary character. I don't know. I don't have an English degree, so I don't know the name for the type of character that he is. But it was just too much description. We understood that he was descending into madness. We didn't really need all of every single emotion that he was feeling. So I liked it fine. Would I read something else by Oscar Wilde? Probably. But it would need to be at least no longer than The Picture of Dorian Gray, or shorter. The next thing I read in July was Fruits Baskets by Natsuki Takaya, and this was so good. I gave this, what did I give this? I think I gave this 4 stars. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I gave this 4 stars. It kind of got off to, like every manga, you go in, and for the first quarter to the first third, you are just confused, and you don't know if you like it or if you don't like it. You don't know what is going on, what the plot's going to be, where the story's going to take. And that is no different from this one. It probably took me till I got, man, I was probably about this far. Yeah, I was probably about this far in before I started to really get into the story and really like it. I think, like I said, I think I gave this 4 stars, and I read this for the pop culture. I don't know what I did with my bingo cards, but I definitely read this for the pop culture readathon, and I don't remember which board this was on, but it was great. Would recommend. Will go to volume 2 as soon as possible. The next book that I read in July was not on a TBR. It wasn't even on any kind of radar that I have. It was strictly something that Ashley was like, I saw that she had read it, but I wasn't really, I mean, I always want to read good books, but I wasn't that interested in it until she was like, girl, read this book. And I was like, okay, why not? And it didn't destroy me, but it really hit me like right here. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen my tweets. If you follow me on Goodreads, you definitely saw my updates. I want everybody to read Anger is a Gift by Mark Ashuro. It gave me 5-star feels. It's probably an all-time favorite book. It's definitely, I don't see anything knocking it out of my probably top 10 faves for 2020. But it is about, I read this from a borrowed library book and an audiobook from Scribd. It is about this young man, Moss, who suffers from, if you need trigger warnings or content warnings, please look them up for this book. There are extreme instances of police violence against just the public, against children, against literally every time they show up in the book, there's violence. So just be aware of that. And there's some other things going on with Moss. He has PTSD, and he does have some panic attacks on the page. So if you need, like I said, if you need trigger warnings or content warnings, look those up. I mentioned a few. I think the ones that I just mentioned, I mentioned in my Goodreads review, but there are a few more that you may want to look up if you need that kind of thing. But I really love this. I would really love to talk about this with other people. It's the story about Moss, who, like I said, had gone through some stuff in his childhood, and so he suffers from PTSD and anxiety disorders, and he goes to it is a high school that is in, like, I don't want to say a poverty-stricken area, but it's definitely one that has kind of fallen by the wayside. I forget where they're at. I think they're in Compton again. No, they're in Oakland, California. In Anger is a Gift. And the other reason why this book gave me 5-star feels is because I have family I had family in Oakland, California. And I had an uncle who has now passed away, but I had an uncle who would love to sit at coffee shops and play chess for hours and just play dominoes and just hang out with people at the coffee shop or the bookshop. He has now since passed away, but that just really resonated with me. I know this isn't everybody, or not everybody. A lot of people have people that they know in different areas of the world that will go and play chess or play dominoes somewhere, but that really hit me right in the fifis. Yeah, so this school that they go to, I forget the name of it. This school that they go to is in an underserved neighborhood. Let me just put it that way. And there's lots of minorities at this school, and I think it's probably predominantly a minority population or minority demographic school. And they start having a police presence at this school, and Moss is trying to work with his friends and the community to try to get rid of the police presence in their school, and just not be treated like criminals just because they go to a school that the district doesn't care about, and just because they're Black and going to school doesn't mean that or just because they come from a neighborhood maybe that is crime ridden or whatever, because don't worry about the underlying reasons why there's crime in a specific neighborhood, but just because you go to this certain school in this certain neighborhood, don't treat us like we're all criminals here. We're here to learn. That's what we go to school for. It's what Moss's plight and his friends' plight was trying to get the city to recognize. And basically an incident happens, without giving spoilers, an incident happens with one of Moss's not closest, but close friends, in fairly early in the book. And it sort of snowballs from there, and a couple more instances happen, and finally they just want to put an end to the presence, period. Like, get the police out of our school, period. Read this when you are in a good space and let us talk about this one because this one was really, really good. And I had not heard about it before Ashley told me to read it. The next book that I read in July was Ghost by Raina Telgemeier. I don't know. But editing Deidra here, and I just decided that I want to split this up into two parts. So watch the second part for the rest of what I read in July.